So we'll probably hold on until 8:05 and then we will start off, if that's okay.
So actually, I'm the photographer of that picture of Joe.
Oh, is it?
Oh,
I did a photo shoot with him and his son.
Right.
His son is also a wonderful writer, Jaiman.
Okay.
सर आप लगता है उड़ती चिड़िया पकड़ लेते हो?
हाँ, कुछ शौक हैं अजीब अजीब से. Biking is one of them.
तभी तो हम सब यहाँ पे हैं.
बिल्कुल सही बात है.
Yeah, thank you for that click, sir. That was a wonderful frame, actually.
Thank you. It really looks nice.
And you've taken a lot of efforts going on the ground and various postures and poses to click that. So it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody who have joined on time. We're just waiting for a few latecomers, probably another minute, and then we will start off. Thanks for your patience.
Are we getting a live feed on YouTube channel?
Yes, Ashish, I think, has shared the YouTube
Yes,
stream.
he did. Oh yeah, so it's coming.
There is also a Facebook streaming that's happening on the Talk Tales channel.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, I think we can sort of kick off. It's 8:05. We've given 5 minutes. There would be people who are joining in. It's a Sunday evening, so through the conference, and I hope a lot of people might also join in. We're also live on Facebook and YouTube for whoever is unable to crack in through Zoom. Good evening, everybody. Once again, a lot of you have seen the Talk Tales webinar previously. This is a very special edition of Talk Tales. We have, some, extremely privileged, and we are extremely privileged to have some, fantastic speakers today from the Defense Forces. And of course, it's, it is my privilege to be hosting this session. And, a lot of organizers are also extremely, excited, for this specific session. So, just to, for the sake of, people who are attending this for the first time, I see a few new names. Talk Tales is an initiative to try and get stories out, specifically regarding, not specifically to two-wheelers, but automobiles and the passion for automobiles in general, both two-wheelers and four-wheelers. We've done a series of webinars. Of course, these are unprecedented times for all of us. But we thought we should have like-minded people connect with each other. A lot of us are spending more time at our houses, not on behind our wheels or our bikes. So we thought that we should create a forum where we can exchange, bring some stories out, and create this collaborative ecosystem. And we've done a few sessions. A few were about people who've traveled around the world in their bikes, sharing their experiences, learnings, etc., so that people who are passionate want to do that can go back and do that again. We did an international riders men. So this specific webinar is part of a three webinar series. We did international riders men last week, where we had a large number of speakers, around 12 speakers from all across the world, from South Africa, from Cambodia, from Singapore, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, etc., share their experiences of how riding culture is in their own specific countries. And we also have international riders women, because we have equal number of not to create a differentiator, but to give equal opportunity for women as well who are riding. We have a separate session for international riders women that's coming up in the coming week. But today is Fauji riders. I will let Colonel Jacob talk about that in more detail. But this is also to bring a different segment, we are all, most of us in this webinar are civilian riders, but I think the love for Royal Enfield, at least for me and for a lot of people, came because of seeing, soldiers, ride their bikes, right? And I think that's my, I'm very young compared to the speakers here, but that's one of the key reasons why I think I took on to a Royal Enfield. And of course, I know there are much older bikes that a lot of you ride here, and so would be a lot of our webinar attendees. So what is how do you keep up that passion while serving for the country, while going through all those circumstances? You still continue to keep your passion. Itself is a very, very is a great experience for all of us to learn, and that's what we intend to do today. Here are some fantastic stories from four eminent defense force professionals. And I will let Colonel Jacob, who's already part of our, privilege to have him in our club, and have been riding with him for quite a while now. So I would, and he's one who sort of is conceptualized and put this together along with Ashish. So I would request, there's nobody better than Colonel Jacob, because he knows all the participants personally, to introduce them, also give a perspective to this much, he would be able to, do justice to that. So I would hand over the session to Colonel Jacob. I would request the participants, all of you are on mute, but since we only have 4 speakers today, unlike last week, we will have time to take a lot of questions. And I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of questions. Feel free to put it on your chat box. We will moderate them and take it to the specific speaker. All have the relevant speakers respond to you on those questions. And you can continue to do that right from when the speakers start talking, or from their profiles if you have anything to ask. We will ensure that you get your opportunity to speak as well as ask your questions to the speakers today. Over to you, Colonel Jacob.
Thank you, Sriram. Good evening and Jai Hind to all our distinguished speakers, our esteemed viewers on Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, and many other social media platforms. So it's an honor to get all these speakers here today, because in addition to being a Fauji, they're all very great riders. And today we are very lucky because we got riders from different segments of motorcycling. We have officers who have been riding on tours. Then we have somebody who's been working on modifications and restorations of motorcycles. Then we have somebody who's on off-roading specialist, which is definitely going to be interesting to a lot of us. So today, the first speaker I will request is going to be Colonel Rajiv Aluwalia. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can.
Colonel Rajiv is an Indian Army veteran. He is from the Corps of Army Air Defense. He was commissioned into the Army.
Just definitely going to be.
Somebody said something? No. So he was commissioned to the Army in 1978. And that is the year he got his driving license to drive bikes also. And, regarding Colonel Rajiv, what a better way to start riding. He started his first motorcycle was a Triumph Tiger 500 Twin, which he inherited from his dad. And he enjoyed that bike for a few years. And thereafter, he shifted to Royal Enfields. And today, he is riding a classic 500cc motorcycle. He started pursuing his passion of motorcycling seriously after he retired some years back. And thereafter, his first long ride was probably in 2014 when he took a ride to Ladakh. Thereafter, he has been to many trips, including Lahul Spiti and many other parts of the country he has been. And Colonel Rajiv, like many of us, had his share of mishaps, injuries, but he being him, he always bounces back to riding. So at 64, he is still going strong, very strong on rides. He is a very meticulous planner when it comes to a ride. And he is a very dependable buddy. His son is also a keen biker, and now the father-son duo has become a team to ride with. So, Rajiv sir, we'll be delighted to hear about your ride stories and definitely about your experience with Triumph Tiger 500T.
Thanks, thanks, Jacob. Hello, everybody. Jai Hind. First of all, let me be very candid about one fact. I might be the oldest here. Maybe I don't know. Colonel Satish might be somewhere around my age. Mr. Thomas Nanan looks older, but he looks younger also. Yeah. Okay. So I probably am one of the oldest people in this group today, and but I am one of the youngest riders. I started very late. I started very early, gave up in between, and then sort of got back into it because it was my son who sort of inducted me back into riding. So one day he got a bike from his friend and said, Dad, let's go for a ride. And then there was no looking back. So my first long ride, as Jacob said, was to Leh, to Ladakh, all over. We had both gone together with a group of 7 other officers. The complete planning of the route, the complete administration, logistics was done between the two of us. The highlights of that were that we had catered for almost as much as uh, to repair a puncture also if we have en route, which unfortunately did not work out because the rods that we were using, we didn't try them out and they got bent, and the pump was meant for a car, did not work on a bike battery. So these are the kind of mishaps that happen in spite of our detailed planning. And then after that one flat that we had, I traveled almost about 35 kilometers all alone at night, and then drove back. We loaded the bike onto that Fauji truck. Fortunately, in Ladakh, there's a lot of Fauji support, a hell of a lot of Fauji support. And people are very, very kind, courteous, and helpful, even to the civilians who are riding out there. They give them space, they give them food, they give them shelter, and they give them a lot of uh, technical backup if required. And Bullet, being Bullet, is there available in the Forge, so uh, there's no problem of a technical backup also. But don't ask for fuel, somebody's going to kill you then. Okay, so now my first bike, and I'll correct Jacob out here. I didn't get my license in 78. I got my first star and first bike both in 78. When the cost of when my salary was just about $700-800, and the cost of renovation or refurbishing that bike cost me about $5,000. So it was really a beg, borrow, steal kind of a situation. A friend of mine, or we became friends. He was doing bikes. I was living in Arkipuram, and this guy had his workshop in Munirka, and lots of foreigners used to come to him with their bikes at that time. So I found the ideal guy who could do it, and I was riding that bike for almost 5-6 years. Ultimately, when the repairs and became very expensive, the spares became scarce, I had to give it up. And frankly speaking, I regret it today. Now that I have friends like Sanjay Ghosh out here who do the restoration work, I wish I had met him earlier. Now coming to the rides, the first one that I took was, can I have my screen, please? Can I share some?
Yeah, you can click on the share screen button, Colonel.
Okay, yeah.
Right in the center.
All right.
Have you to select whichever window it is.
Okay.
I will let you know once we see your screen.
Yeah, can you see it now?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we started the ride from Udhampur, where Jacob's unit was there, and we took our bikes by truck to Udhampur, and then we started the ride. We avoided all the heat of and the Punjab plains and the traffic, and we went via Srinagar, Kargil, and this is a route which everybody probably knows. And we went to Pangong So, Somriri, and and we came back via Rotang. Now, the best thing about this route, or we were very fortunate to have this route at that time, was that we could sort of how do I go back to my whole screen?
Do you want to stop sharing?
No, okay, I got it. Yeah, okay. So the best thing about this route was that we could get the best of Srinagar, the Kashmir Valley, and the tough side of the route was via Rohtang. I don't know. People are not taking this route nowadays. I think it's more because of the terrorism problems and all. I had decided about 3 years back again to go there. On my 4 years back, on my 60th birthday, I'd wanted to do solo, on this route. But a friend of mine posted somewhere in between, advised me very strongly against it because of the terrorism problem. So a few things that I would like to share with you is one, that when you plan a long ride, I have done 3 of them now. You've got to be very, very, careful, meticulous, go into a lot of details. And in spite of that, things, turn topsy-turvy. I, for one, catered for a lot of things, like Jacob was saying yesterday, right from a thread to a tire changing equipment. But because of that, what happened, that my bike became very heavy, and I had a 350 at that time. My bike became very heavy, and at one point I fell. I was very slow, but because of a stone, I sort of skidded, and I fell, and I could not pick up that bike myself. I had to, shout out for help, and fortunately, a couple of local guys, and all these guys had left me behind and walked away, driven away. Not very far, not very far though. But so that was one thing. And the other thing that I experienced was that you need to, when you're going out on a long ride, after about 5-6 days, the fatigue starts building up. Oh, at one point and fortunately Jacob was right behind me, and I think I dozed off on the saddle, and almost lost balance, but nothing really very bad happened. So one must take care of that. The other thing is, when you are into the hills, I prefer riding in the hills only. The lack of oxygen also does catch up with you, in spite of all your, having been there for. I have had a couple of tenures in Kargil, and at the glacier, and in spite of all that, your body does get fatigued, and you have to really prepare for it well in advance, which I did. Still, I had to. Maybe the age factor also is there. You cannot beat your age. You might be your will might be very strong, but your body does wane away slowly. The other thing is that you have to take proper rest and route. Make sure that you have proper rest and route. So now let me share my the next this thing slide with you. Okay, so this was the gang of people who went. Now this gentleman that you see on the left, wearing a cap, is one Colonel Sharma. He at that time was, I think, about 64 in 2014, and he was the oldest with us. The problem with this man was, he would get up in the morning and start limping and start telling me to kick the bike, kickstart the bike. So this time when I went to Uttarakhand last year, Himachal last year, he wanted to come along, and I said, I'm not going to kickstart your bike. He gave up. He didn't go with me. So, and then we have our friend Jacob sitting right here, and this is me. And we had a couple of other, Nilesh from the army, and these 3 were our civilian friends. Yeah, when you go out, give up your habit of smoking, because Deepak and Anil, this guy Anil and this is Deepak, they both would stop anywhere, just about anywhere where they felt like a smoke, they would stop. And most of the times, Jacob was spearheading the that ride, and I was the tail. I was the tail ender. I was collecting the tail all the time, and I used to be the last one to reach everywhere. So at the Sulphur Springs also, I could not. I could just barely manage to get a soak. Now, what you see behind is the most interesting part. This is where we were. We went for a short visit. These are the these are. Can you see my arrow? Can you see the mouse?
Yes, sir, we could see.
Yeah. So that is the Indian barracks or the Indian bunkers, and the one here are the Pakistani bunkers. So this is that post right below Kaksar Battalion defended area. I was at one time posted there. Okay. In spite of being from the air defense. Now I'll come to my. Okay, this was while entering Srinagar. This photograph was taken by Jacob himself, and he asked me to put up this one only. He says this is the best picture ever taken, and doesn't, although you don't do justice to it, but still, so it is probably. Am I right, Jacob?
Yes, sir, you're right. These photos bring in a lot of memories from the old times.
No, and you also said that you don't do justice to the picture. Okay. This was my next trip to Nilang and Gangotri. We just took off for a heck of it. Ki chalo Nilang hoke aate, and this was the place where I'll just enlarge it. Dharali is the place where we camped with the ITBP people. They are also again very helpful in this area. And from there we took a day trip to Nilang. From Nilang, I was very lucky. I found a very helpful officer who took us another. In fact, we were four of us. He took out his gypsy and he took us to almost to the Chinese border, where his last post was there. And this was a most amazing ride. It was probably, except for the Fauji vehicles, I don't think any other personal vehicles had ever gone there. And I think it was one of the most amazing areas. The roads were so smooth and beautiful, and since it was all along the valley only, the roads were in a very good shape. And we had to cross a couple of glaciers also, couple of nalas also. Okay. So this trip was almost about 5 days. We had one halt at Uttar Kashi, and then I think we went on straight to Dharali. Say next day we went to Nelong, and thereafter we went one day to Gangotri, and then we were back again on the fifth day. I think we reached back the fifth day. Oh, this was I don't know how many of you have done it, but this was one of the most amazing and a tough ride. We did. We took about 15 days. Jacob, please let me know when I'm running out of time, because I think I'm.
Sir, we will get back to the details once again.
Okay.
After others have also spoken.
Okay. Okay. So just to cut it short, this was the route that I took for Lahaul and Spiti Valley, and I did this route twice. In fact, once with my wife and another couple on a Scorpio, and the second time I did it on my bike with a couple of friends. Okay. So this is my son and I. One of the Sunday mornings, we just decided to go for the parathas to Murthal. So this was also about almost about 4 years back. I was having a 350. He was having this bike. The bugger's after me too. I don't know whether he's connected or not. He said he'll be connecting. But since I'll be showing him the video, he's been after me to buy the best of the bikes available today. Worth 20-30 lakhs, so that he can inherit it from me. But I'm not agreeing to it, because I realize that I've got very little shelf life left. So, why should I spend it on him? Okay.
We have a long way to go on the
Sorry?
on the rides. You just started with it.
Yeah, sure. I'm just kidding. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, sir. It was very, very motivational, and we came to know of some new routes which we might like to explore sometime. And the ride we did together, of course, that brought in. I mean, we can keep talking about it, I think, for the entire day. There are so many things. And you mentioned a few people's names, and there are some of them are here, I think, in the group, in the Zoom today. So meanwhile, I'll request our next speaker is Colonel Satish Malik, is whom I'll request next. Colonel Satish is a big inspiration to all of us. Now, he is a living example of how not to let circumstances overtake you, and he always remains in control of his life. He first learned to ride on his father's Lambretta, graduated to a SD once he got commissioned into the army in an infantry battalion. Thereafter, he is SD, and he has seen many places wherever he was posted, and forward bases. He's been riding all over the place. Then in 1999, as we know, the Kargil war happened. Colonel Satish was very much in the front line, and unfortunately, he lost his left leg in the line of action. Yes, that had a direct impact on his life, and definitely he had to give up riding. But the inspiring fact for us is that 10 years later, he was back on saddle with his prosthetic leg. And thereafter, there's been no stopping for him. It took him another 3-4 years. In 2014, he took off on his first long ride of a week duration. And after that, he has covered most of India, Bhutan, a bit of Nepal, and South India in detail. He has done a lot of rides. And on his favorite Thunderbird 350. Now, Mrs. Satish joins her husband in most of the rides as a pillion. The husband and wife team is a formidable riding team. Apart from Fauji and riding, Colonel Satish is also a talented photographer. So we would like to hear your story and how you got back to riding and things like that. Thank you very much, sir. Please, yours. Mic is yours, sir.
Oh yeah, I got it now. Hello, everybody. Well, I mean, almost everything about me has been said by Jacob, so there's hardly anything else that I can talk about. Yeah, I'll keep it within 10 minutes. In fact, I really don't have much to talk about. It started with, as Jacob said, my father's Lambretta scooter. Somehow my father, he was never fascinated with riding a two-wheeler. He bought a Lambretta just because he had to commute to office. But then, most of the times that Lambretta would be lying at the garage, and my elder brother and I, we would have a field day on it. So actually, that was the first thing that we started enjoying doing on Lambretta. And then, like all young children, Lambretta, Vijay Super, Priya scooter, Bajaj Chetak, Bajaj Super, everything. I mean, you name it, Rajdoot motorcycle. So I have done everything. And then my elder brother, when he started earning, he bought a Hero Honda, or maybe in Suzuki, and then later on Hero Honda. So for a long time, whenever I would go home on vacation from NDA or IMA, I would be riding his in Suzuki or Hero Honda. But let me tell you that even these scooters and bikes that I'm talking about, I have done extensive riding on these two-wheelers. On Priya scooter, I have done one way at least about 500 to 600 kilometers for a 3 days ride to go to some place and come back. So even my brother's Hero Honda, taken it to Nepal, done that. So my village is on India-Nepal border in Bihar. So Nepal was a familiar country. We have family in Nepal. So many a times we have done that. So it's not that what brand of two-wheeler I had. For me, it was a two-wheeler. And, many a times it would be, even if it was a bicycle, I would do that. I mean, I have done, on a bicycle, I have done hundreds of kilometers. So if it has wheels and it is moving and I'm on it, I'm enjoying myself. So this is what the philosophy was. And 1987, I got commissioned in Army. So Rajiv sir, I'm much, much junior to you. So I was in field. I mean, I was deployed on the line of control in Kashmir, so there was no question of having a motorcycle. It's only 1990 that I bought my first Yazdi motorcycle. And with Yazdi, I did extensive touring of the northern Himalayas, I would say. So right from your Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, and also to Uttarakhand. These areas I did a lot of riding on my Yazdi. And well, then 1999 Kargil war started. I was again in field at that time in operations. And on 26th of May, I just stepped over a mine somewhere and my left leg was blasted off. It was amputated below knee. And then, you know, these are the times in your life when, in fact, I have had many such times in my life when you have the question of which way to go. You know? So there was, okay, my leg is gone. Perhaps I can't do much now. Forget about riding. Can't even walk properly. But then the other option which I chose was, okay, my leg is gone, but my body is still intact. And more than my body, my head is still intact. You know, at least from here, I was not disabled or handicapped in any way. So, you know, in 2000, after getting my prosthetic leg, I wanted to come back to, somebody told me, you know, motorcycle would be too heavy. Now you should go back to scooter just for commute. So I bought a Bajaj scooter, Bajaj Super, I think. Somehow, I mean, I have got nothing against Bajaj scooter. I mean, I have driven Bajaj scooter for quite a distance for a long time. But this time I was not really enjoying it because I was already hooked on to that Yazdi motorcycle. So I was not enjoying this Bajaj too much. So, you know, maybe I kept it for 1 year and then I sold it off. And somehow, somewhere in my mind, this thing was always there that I have to get back to riding. I think I can. So, you know, one has to try it out. So I tried it on somebody else's motorcycle. Will I be able to shift gears or not? And I realized that, you know, a little bit of practice and I can still do that. And with that, in 2010, I purchased my Royal Enfield 350cc Thunderbird Twin Spark. And since then, I have been riding everywhere. And 2014, a small group was formed of amputee riders. Actually, there's another very accomplished rider. He's a very good friend. His name is Sian Satish. He's a prosthetic surgeon. So I was actually his patient initially. And so he gave this idea that we have a couple of amputees who ride motorcycle. Why not make a team? So 2014, we made a team of 4 amputee riders, and that 2 Faujis and 2 civilians. So there's one young civilian amputee in Nagpur. His name is Ashok Munne. He is a very known adventurist. So he organized the ride. And there's another amputee from Mumbai. He works for Indian Railways, Sanjay Patil. His right hand above elbow is amputated. And you can imagine how he's still riding a motorcycle. So 4 of us, we formed a team and we did our first long ride. That was ride Vidarbha. So around Nagpur, we were riding for 8 days. That was in the month of May, a very crazy time to do a ride in Nagpur region. It's very, very hot at that time. So it was quite a big challenge, especially one particular day when we were doing off-roading, all of us. In that kind of heat, it was a big challenge. We were almost dehydrated. And since then, you know, in that other people also kept joining in. So I was telling about CN Satish. So he himself is a rider, so he was there with us. So that was a very big confidence building measure for us that the doctor is riding with me. So if something happens, he's always here. And there was another girl, Ambili Kutti. She is a military nursing services officer. She was also riding. So you have a doctor and you have a nursing officer also with you. And another very ace rider, his name is Abhijit Day. He is still serving in army. He and his son. So they also joined in this group. And since then, all of us, we have been riding together. And every year we make it a point that we do a long ride. So 2014 was Vidarbha. 2015, we went to Northeast. We did part of Assam, Nagaland, Manipur. Then after that, 2016, we went to Ladakh. 2017, Abhijit Day and his son, Rhythm Day, they planned for One India, One Ride, in which they wanted to touch the 7 geographical extremes of India. That is the northernmost, easternmost, southernmost, westernmost villages, the central village, and also the highest point in India and the lowest point of India. So I joined Abhijit and Rhythm halfway. I joined them in Bhopal. So we did central India together, we did western India, and then we did southern India. So in southern India, we did the southernmost point, of course, is Kanyakumari. But there are not many people who are aware that there is a lowest point in mainland India, that is Kuttanad. It's near backwaters. And that is about 7.5 feet below the mean sea level. So we touched that and we came back. 2018, we did extensive ride to Bhutan. 2019, there was no group ride, so my wife and I, we did a ride to Coorg. And I live in Pune, so Pune to Coorg, and then we came back via Kerala. So that was a very interesting ride I've had. And this year in February, we went to Kerala for a very short ride. That was more of a photography ride because I wanted to do a photo shoot of a particular festival which happens there in February in a small village. So we did that, and that was just about 5 days ride that we did. So these are the long rides we have done. And besides that, I have also done many short rides, especially with my wife as a pillion. For most of these long rides also, she comes with me, sitting pillion with me, very spirited, very energetic. So that is always, a very good feeling that the family, 2 of us, we are riding together. So this is what my photography journey has been till now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for inspiring us with all the stories. There is a lot to learn. In fact, when we go through this webinars, we understand how much we don't know, how many people are out there who are doing much better than what we think we're doing. And when you took the name of Abhijit, I remember to tell here that there are so many more riders who are very, very active and done much more. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, most of them are still serving. So they are not free to come out and, express, the things in public domain.
You're right.
But one day, yes, we will hope to get a lot of them into this. We will get a chance to interact with many of them. So next, viewers, next we have a different, an officer who's doing a very different thing. I'm going to talk about Colonel Sanjay Ghosh. Colonel Sanjay is logged in from Calcutta, and he has been passionate about the way the motorcycle looked and performed from a very young age. He has been tinkering with bikes even before he was eligible by age to join the Indian Army. He joined the army in the 80s and retired recently. He is also from the Corps of Army Air Defense. Colonel Sanjay is a very talented and is known for his design and performance modifications on motorcycles. Being in the army, as we all know, is very, we'll be very constrained to interact with outside world or in the industry. However, he has been instrumental in conceptualizing this cafe racer models of Royal Enfield. And he is a vintage motorcycle enthusiast. It's his passion. He has restored many of the old vintage bikes over a period of time. And after his retirement, now he is concentrating on his venture, Ministry of Biking, in which he is working closely with some leading international motorcycle brands. He is also a founder member of Gopalpur Hawks Motorcycle Club. Apart from his riding, he is also a music enthusiast. He is also a dog lover. So we would like to hear about your biking stories and about your restoration projects and more. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jacob. And I must say that I'm very humbled by the narrative of Girl Satisha. It's amazing. So what you do, and then we feel that we should be doing much more. It's such an inspiration. And also from what you said, the names that you took, and then Colonel Ahluwalia, he took the name of a Triumph twin, Speed twin. You took the name of Lambretta, the Years de Jawa. Now, these are iconic things, these are iconic bikes. And these were my inspirations for doing, restoring old motorcycles and two-wheelers. And the spirit that you showed, that yes, it just has to be something that moves on wheels and the experience is yours, is also my story. So I can so relate with you, Satish, in this. All right. Now, before I get